The ground shook as another explosion rocked the battlefield. Commander Zixtal pressed himself against the ruined wall, his 4 arms gripping his plasma rifle. The human forces had surprised everyone with their resistance on Kepler 442b. What AI should have been a simple conquest had turned into a bloody fight. Zixtal's purple skin gleamed with sweat. His species, the Vexians, were known across the galaxy as fierce warriors. They stood 8 feet tall with armored scales and multiple limbs. But these humans, they just wouldn't stop fighting. "Commander, we've located their squad leader," his lieutenant reported through the comlink. "He's holding position near the eastern ridge." Zixtal nodded and signaled his team forward. The Vexian warriors moved silently through the smoke-filled ruins. Their advanced technology should have given them every advantage, yet the humans kept finding ways to surprise them. Through the haze, Zixtal spotted his target. A human marine stood alone, covering his team's retreat. The name Miller was printed on his armor. He was smaller than any Vexian warrior, barely 6 feet tall. His weapon looked primitive compared to Vexian technology, yet he stood his ground, firing precise shots that forced Zixtal's soldiers to take cover. "Surrender, human," Zixtal shouted in the standard galactic language. "You cannot win this battle." The Marine, Jake Miller, turned toward the voice. His face was covered in dirt and blood, but his eyes showed no fear. "Come and get me, you overgrown lizard!" Zixtal felt a surge of anger at the insult. He raised his plasma rifle and fired. The blue energy bolt caught Jake in the shoulder, spinning him around. The impact would have killed most species instantly. The human fell to one knee, his armor smoking where the plasma had burned through. "Target down," Zixtal reported, already turning away. No creature could survive a direct plasma hit. "Commander, wait," his lieutenant called out. "The human, he's moving." "Impossible." Zixtal spun back around. Jake Miller was not only alive but pushing himself up with his good arm. Blood poured from the wound, yet he reached for his dropped weapon. The human's face was pale, twisted in pain, but his eyes burned with determination. "How?" Zixtal whispered. In all his years of combat, he had never seen anything like this. Jake managed to grab his rifle and fired. The bullets bounced off Zixtal's armor, but the act itself was unthinkable. Any other species would be dead or unconscious from shock. "New orders from High Command," Zixtal's comm crackled. "Capture the human alive. They want to study their resilience." Zixtal hesitated. Taking this human alive would be dangerous. But orders were orders. He switched his weapon to stun mode and advanced carefully. Jake tried to stand but stumbled. The blood loss was finally affecting him. Still, he raised his weapon with shaking hands. "Stay back. Your courage is impressive," Zixtal admitted. "But this fight is over." He fired the stun blast. Jake's body jerked as the energy hit him, and he finally collapsed. Even then, his fingers twitched, trying to reach for his weapon. 2 Vexian soldiers moved forward to secure the prisoner. As they lifted Jake's unconscious form, one of them gasped. "Commander, look at this." Zixtal stepped closer. The plasma wound on Jake's shoulder, which should have been fatal, had already stopped bleeding. The edges of the burned flesh seemed to be closing. "Impossible," Zixtal muttered. "Get him to the medical facility immediately. I want our best doctors examining him." As they carried Jake away, Zixtal stared at the blood on the ground. His own species took months to heal from minor injuries. A wound like that would require extensive surgery and regeneration therapy. Yet this human's body was already beginning to repair itself. For the first time in his military career, Commander Zixtal felt a chill of uncertainty. What kind of creatures were these humans, and what else didn't they know about them? The battle might be over, but Zixtal sensed that his real education about humans was just beginning. The Vexian medical facility hummed with activity. Bright, white lights reflected off sterile metal surfaces as Dr. Krelax prepared for the most unusual patient of his career. The 4-armed doctor adjusted his scanner, his yellow eyes narrowing as the human was brought in. Jake Miller lay unconscious, on the examination table, still in his damaged armor. The plasma burn on his shoulder looked terrible, blackened flesh mixed with melted synthetic material. Dr. Krelax clicked his mandibles in concern. "Commander Zixtal, this human should be dead," the doctor said, running his scanner over Jake's body. "The plasma damage alone would kill any known species." Zixtal stood at the observation window, arms crossed. "That's why you need to examine him. He was shot 4 hours ago and his wound has already changed." Dr. Krelax leaned closer, his sensory tendrils twitching. The burnt flesh around the wound was different. Instead of continuing to deteriorate, it showed signs of healing. "This is impossible. Remove his armor. I need full access." 2 medical assistants carefully cut away Jake's combat gear. As they worked, the human stirred. His eyes fluttered open, unfocused at first, then sharpening with awareness. Before anyone could react, Jake's hand shot out, grabbing one assistant's arm. "Where am I?" he demanded, trying to sit up. The movement made him wince, but he didn't let go. "Restrain him," Dr. Krelax ordered. "He shouldn't even be conscious." Jake fought against the restraints as they were applied. Even wounded, he showed surprising strength. It took 3 Vexians to hold him down while the automated restraints locked into place. "Let me go," Jake shouted, still struggling. "This is against the Geneva Convention." Zixtal stepped forward. "You are a prisoner of war. Cooperate and you will not be harmed further." Jake glared at him. "You shot me with a plasma weapon. That's already harm." "A wound that should have killed you," Dr. Krelax interrupted, fascinated. "Yet here you are, awake and talking. Remarkable." The doctor began his examination. He took tissue samples, scanned Jake's organs, and monitored his vital signs. With each test, his amazement grew. "Commander, look at this," Dr. Krelax pointed to his display. "His white blood cell count is extraordinary. They're multiplying at an incredible rate, and these proteins in his blood, I've never seen anything like them." Jake watched the aliens with suspicious eyes. "What are you doing to me?" "Trying to understand how you're still alive," Dr. Krelax replied. "Your wound is healing at a rate that defies our medical knowledge. In the 6 hours since your injury, your body has already begun regenerating tissue." The doctor pulled up a comparison chart. "A Vexian with this injury would need immediate surgery, 3 months in a healing tank, and another month of therapy. Your body is doing this naturally." "That's just how humans work," Jake said, confused by their surprise. "We heal. It's not that special." Zixtal moved closer to the table. "Not special? Your shoulder was hit by plasma that burns at 3,000 degrees. You should be dead." "Humans are tough," Jake shrugged, then winced at the movement. "We evolved on a death world. Our bodies adapted." Dr. Krelax's scanners beeped rapidly. "Incredible. Even that small movement caused micro tears in your muscle tissue, and they're already being repaired. Your body produces healing factors faster than I can measure them." Over the next several hours, the doctor continued his tests. He documented everything: how Jake's blood clotted quickly, how his cells regenerated, how his immune system attacked any foreign substances. The human's body was a biological marvel. "In my professional opinion," Dr. Krelax announced, "this human will be fully functional within a week, maybe less." Zixtal stared at Jake in disbelief. "A week? That's impossible." Jake actually smiled. "Want to bet? Back home, I once broke my arm in 3 places. 6 weeks later, I was back in combat training." The commander turned to Dr. Krelax. "Could this ability be weaponized, studied, and replicated?" Before the doctor could answer, alarms blared throughout the facility. Red lights flashed as an announcement. Echoed, "Security breach in medical wing. All personnel to emergency stations." Jake's smile grew wider. "Sounds like my friends are here." The alarm continued to blare as Jake tested his restraints. The metal bands held firm, but he could feel them starting to give under constant pressure. His shoulders still hurt, but the pain was already fading to a dull ache. Zixtal barked orders to his guards. "Secure the prisoner. If he escapes, the High Command will have our heads." 2 Vexian soldiers moved toward Jake's table, but explosions rocked the facility. The lights flickered, and in that moment of darkness, Jake made his move. He had been working on the restraints, using his blood as lubricant. With a final twist, his right hand slipped free. "Stop him," Dr. Krelak shouted, but Jake was already moving. Despite his injury, Jake rolled off the table and grabbed a medical instrument, a long, sharp probe. He jammed it into the control panel, shorting out the remaining restraints. The metal bands snapped open. Zixtal drew his ceremonial blade, a curved weapon passed down through generations of warriors. "Stand down, human." Jake ignored the command and sprinted for the door. His shoulder screamed in protest, but adrenaline pushed him forward. Zixtal moved to intercept, surprisingly fast for his size. The blade flashed in the artificial light. Jake tried to dodge, but the weapon caught his left arm, opening a deep gash from elbow to wrist. Blood sprayed across the white floor. "Now, you're finished," Zixtal declared, expecting Jake to collapse from the new wound. Instead, Jake grabbed his bleeding arm with his other hand, applying pressure. Without missing a beat, he kicked a medical cart into Zixtal's path and kept running. The commander stumbled, shocked that the human could still move. "How is he still standing?" one guard asked, frozen in disbelief. Jake found a storage room and ducked inside. He tore strips from a medical gown and wrapped them tightly around his arm. The bleeding was already slowing, not as fast as he'd like, but faster than the aliens expected. Through the door, he heard Zixtal approaching. "The blood trail leads here. He can't have gone far with that wound." Jake looked around desperately. The room contained medical supplies, cleaning equipment, and ventilation access. He grabbed a bottle of antiseptic and poured it over his arm wound, gritting his teeth against the burn. Then he climbed onto a shelf and pushed open the ventilation panel. The door burst open just as Jake pulled himself into the vent. Zixtal entered, his blade dripping with human blood. He scanned the room, then noticed the open panel. "Impossible," the commander muttered. "He should be weak from blood loss." Dr. Krelax rushed in behind him, medical scanner in hand. "Commander, look at this." He showed the device's screen. "I'm tracking his biosigns. His body is already producing clotting factors at an accelerated rate. The bleeding has almost stopped." Zixtal stared at the blood trail, which was indeed tapering off. "Get teams into the ventilation system, find him." In the vents, Jake crawled forward, ignoring the pain in both his shoulder and arm. He could hear the aliens searching below. His training kicked in. Escape and evade, find a way to signal his unit. He paused at a junction, checking his wounds. The gash on his arm had stopped bleeding entirely, though it still hurt. His shoulder felt better too, the burnt flesh starting to scab over. Back home, these injuries would have him in sick bay for a week. Here, they seemed to terrify his captors. "Human resilience," he muttered to himself. "They have no idea what we can take." Below, Zixtal coordinated the search. "He's wounded and trapped in our facility. He can't have gone far." Dr. Krelak studied his readings. "Commander, you don't understand. His healing rate is unprecedented. Every minute we delay, he gets stronger. His body is literally repairing itself as we speak." Zixtal gripped his blade tighter. For the first time in his military career, he felt uncertain. This human had taken injuries that would cripple any Vexian warrior. Yet he kept fighting, kept moving, kept healing. "Find him," Zixtal ordered. "I want to know everything about these humans, everything." Jake dropped from the ventilation shaft into a dark corridor. His arm throbbed, but the makeshift bandage held. He checked his shoulder. The plasma burn was already forming new skin. These aliens had no idea how quickly humans could bounce back. Suddenly, the facility shook violently. This wasn't his rescue team. The explosions came from the opposite direction. Through a nearby window, Jake saw ships he didn't recognize firing on the base. "Cretan raiders," a Vexian guard shouted, running past Jake's hiding spot. "They're attacking the medical wing." Jake knew about the Crethans, brutal pirates who raided frontier worlds. They were enemies to everyone, including the Vexians. Another explosion rocked the building, and Jake realized the situation had changed completely. Alarms switched from security alerts to battle stations. Jake watched as Vexian soldiers rushed to defensive positions, leaving corridors unguarded. He could escape now, but something made him pause. The medical wing held wounded soldiers and civilian staff. Zixtal's voice echoed through the facility's speakers. All personnel, prepare for ground assault. Protect the medical bay at all costs. Jake cursed under his breath. His training told him to escape, but his conscience wouldn't let him abandon wounded enemies to pirates. He moved toward the sounds of fighting. In the main medical bay, chaos reigned. Krathan warriors, insect-like creatures with razor-sharp limbs, poured through a breach in the wall. Dr. Krelax tried to evacuate patients while guards fought desperately. Jake saw Zixtal battling 3 Krathans at once. The commander was skilled but overwhelmed. One Krathan slipped past his defense, raising a blade toward his back. Without thinking, Jake grabbed a fallen guard's weapon and fired. The Krathan dropped, and Zixtal spun around in surprise. Human? Zixtal couldn't believe his eyes. Why are you helping us? Deal with it later. Jake shouted, firing at another Krathan. We need to hold this position. For the next few minutes, Human and Vexian fought side by side. Jake's shoulder burned with each weapon recoil. His arm ached with every movement, but he kept fighting. Zixtal noticed Jake's wounds had stopped bleeding completely. A Krathan warrior broke through their defense, its claws raking across Zixtal's chest. The commander fell, green blood pouring from deep gashes. Jake immediately moved to cover him. Get up, Jake yelled, firing at approaching enemies. I can't hold them alone. Zixtal tried to stand but collapsed. Can't. Wounds too deep. Jake glanced at the commander's injuries. They looked bad, but not fatal by human standards. He realized Vexians really did heal much slower than humans. Fine. I'll do this myself, Jake muttered. Despite his own injuries, he dragged Zixtal behind a medical station and continued fighting. The battle raged for 20 minutes. Jake took several more hits. A graze across his ribs, a cut on his leg, bruises from close combat. Each time he kept fighting. Each time his wounds began healing almost immediately. Finally, Vexian reinforcements arrived. The Krathans retreated, leaving destruction behind. Jake slumped against a wall, exhausted but alive. Dr. Krelax rushed to Zixtal's side. Commander, these wounds need immediate treatment. Help. The human first, Zixtal gasped. He took more damage than me. Dr. Krelax turned to Jake and nearly dropped his scanner. Jake's newer wounds were already closing. The plasma burn on his shoulder showed pink new skin. The deep cut on his arm had sealed itself. This is impossible, the doctor whispered. You've been fighting with injuries that would have killed us 3 times over. Jake shrugged, wincing slightly. Humans are stubborn. We don't die easily. Zixtal watched as medical staff worked on his wounds. You could have escaped. Why did you stay and fight? Pirates would have killed everyone here, Jake replied simply. Doctors, wounded soldiers, civilians. I couldn't let that happen. The commander studied the human with new respect. I was wrong about your species. You're not just physically resilient. You have honor. Jake managed a tired smile. Does this mean you'll let me go? Zixtal considered this. Perhaps we can discuss an alliance instead. Dr. Krelax's private laboratory was quieter than the main medical bay. Jake sat on an examination table, letting the doctor take more blood samples. This time he wasn't restrained. After the battle with the Krathans, everything had changed. Your blood is remarkable, Dr. Krelax said, studying the samples under his advanced microscope. These proteins, these antibodies, they're like nothing I've ever seen. Jake watched the alien doctor work. It's just normal human biology. Nothing special. Nothing special? Dr. Krelax's mandibles clicked in disbelief. Your body produces healing factors at 30 times the rate of any known species. Your cells regenerate damage while you're still fighting. This is extraordinary. The doctor brought up a holographic display showing comparative healing rates. Look at this. A Vexian warrior takes 6 months to fully recover from major trauma. A Tharvian needs 8 months. The hardy Drachnids need 4 months. You humans? 2 weeks for the same injuries. Jake leaned forward, interested despite himself. We evolved on Earth. It's a pretty hostile place. Tell me about this Earth, Dr. Krelax asked, running another scan. Jake thought for a moment. High gravity, compared to most worlds. Extreme weather patterns, predators everywhere, natural disasters, diseases that could wipe out whole populations. Our ancestors had to be tough to survive. The doctor's scanner beeped. Fascinating. Your bone density is 3 times higher than Vexian normal. Your muscle fibers are incredibly dense. And your immune system. He paused, checking his readings again. Your immune system is actively attacking and destroying pathogens I didn't even know were in our air. Zixtel entered the lab, moving slowly. His chest was wrapped in healing bandages, and he winced with each step. The contrast between his condition and Jake's recovery was striking. The High Command wants a full report, Zixtel announced. They're particularly interested in human healing capabilities. Dr. Krelax gestured to his data. Commander, what I'm discovering could revolutionize our medicine. Human blood contains enzymes that accelerate cell repair. Their bodies produce natural painkillers that let them function through trauma. Even their gut bacteria are more aggressive than our military bioweapons. Can we replicate it? Zixtel asked. The doctor hesitated. Some aspects, perhaps, but much of this seems tied to human genetics, shaped by millions of years of evolution on their death world, Jake interrupted. Death world? You keep using that term. Zixtel nodded. Planets classified as death worlds are considered too dangerous for intelligent life to evolve. Yet somehow humans did exactly that. Your Earth has temperatures that vary by over 100 degrees, Dr. Krelax explained. Massive storms, earthquakes, volcanoes, thousands of species that can kill you. Most galactic species evolved on garden worlds with stable climates and few predators. Jake laughed. No wonder you all think we're crazy. Earth is just normal to us. The doctor continued his work, discovering more amazing facts. Human livers could process toxins that would kill other species. Human adrenaline allowed strength beyond normal limits. Even human gut bacteria was uniquely aggressive. There's something else, Dr. Krelax said quietly. Your brain chemistry. When injured, you produce compounds that actually suppress panic and increase focus. You get calmer under extreme stress. Zixtel remembered the battle. That explains why you kept fighting with multiple wounds. I thought you were fearless. But your biology actually helps you stay rational during trauma. Fight or flight response, Jake explained. Though humans usually choose fight. The commander sat down carefully, his wounds still painful. The High Command is reconsidering our conflict with humanity. Your resilience makes you dangerous enemies but potentially valuable allies. Jake raised an eyebrow. Just because we heal fast? Because you survive things that should be impossible, Zixtel corrected. And because you chose to help us against the Crethans when you could have escaped, Dr. Krelax added more data to his report. If we could learn even a fraction of human medical science, it would advance our civilization by centuries. Jake considered this. I'd need to contact my command. But if you're serious about peace, maybe we could share knowledge. The possibility of alliance hung in the air, born from violence but growing through understanding. 3 weeks later, the alliance between humans and Vexians faced its first real test. A massive Crethan fleet approached the Kepler system, intent on conquering both species. Jake stood on the bridge of the joint command ship, the Harmony, next to Zixtel. They outnumber us 3-1, Zixtel observed, studying the tactical display. His chest wounds had barely begun to heal, while Jake's injuries were completely gone. Captain Amy Carter, the human fleet commander, appeared on the view screen. Don't worry about the numbers. Watch how humans fight. The battle began with traditional tactics, but the humans quickly proved why they were feared across the galaxy. Jake watched as human pilots performed maneuvers that would knock out any other species. They endured G-forces that should have been lethal, their bodies adapting to the extreme stress. Impossible, a Vexian officer gasped. Those turns would liquefy internal organs. Jake grinned. Human pilots train for this. Our bodies can handle about 3 times the G-force of other species. On the ground, human Marines led the assault, on Crethan positions. Jake joined them, fighting alongside Sergeant Dan Cooper's squad. The Vexians watched in amazement as humans took hits that would cripple their warriors and kept advancing. During one intense firefight, Dan took a plasma bolt to the chest. His armor absorbed most of the impact, but he was thrown backward, gasping for air. "Medic," Jake called out, but Dan was already getting up. "Just knocked the wind out of me," he wheezed, checking his weapon. "Let's go." The Vexian soldiers stared, in disbelief. One of them had taken a similar hit hours ago and was still in critical condition. The battle raged for hours. Human medics performed field surgery that seemed impossible to Vexian doctors. Combat medic Lisa Grant worked on wounded soldiers from both species, using techniques that shocked her alien counterparts. "She's operating without a sterile field," Dr. Krelax exclaimed over the comm. "In the middle of combat." Lisa didn't even look up from her work. "Human immune systems can handle it. We've got antibiotics for later. Right now, speed matters more than sterility." She saved a Vexian warrior by using human blood to create a temporary clotting agent. The aliens' wounds began to stabilize immediately as the battle turned in their favor. Jake noticed something remarkable. Human soldiers were helping wounded Vexians, carrying them to safety, sharing their medical supplies. The Vexians, in turn, provided covering fire and tactical support. "Lieutenant," Amy Carter's voice came over the comm. "All units, push forward, their lines are breaking." Jake and Zixtal led a joint assault on the Crethan command ship. Inside, they faced the enemy commander, a massive Crethan warrior with 4 arms and razor-sharp claws. The fight was brutal. Zixtal took several deep cuts, his movement slowing as green blood flowed. Jake intercepted a blow meant to decapitate the Vexian commander, taking a slash across his back. "You're wounded," Zixtal shouted. Jake didn't even slow down. "I've had worse in training." He drove forward, his enhanced healing already closing the wound enough to keep fighting. Together, human and Vexian defeated the Crethan commander. As enemy forces retreated, Jake helped Zixtal back to their ship. "Your people are insane," Zixtal said, leaning heavily on Jake. "You fight through injuries that would kill us, perform surgery in combat zones, and push your bodies beyond all reasonable limits." Jake laughed. "Welcome to humanity. We don't know when to quit." Back on the Harmony, Dr. Krelax treated the wounded. He marveled at how quickly the humans recovered, how their bodies fought off infections, how they seemed to grow stronger after each injury. "I'm beginning to understand," Zixtal said, watching human and Vexian medics working together. "Your healing ability isn't just physical, it's mental, cultural. You believe you can survive anything, so you do." Captain Carter nodded. "That's the human spirit. We adapt, we overcome, we heal. And now, we do it together." The alliance had been forged, in battle and sealed in blood, both green and red. The final battle came sooner than expected. The Crethan had gathered their remaining forces for one last attack on the Alliance homeworlds. Zixtal stood on the bridge of the flagship, his body still bearing scars from previous battles. Beside him, Jake checked the tactical displays. "They're throwing everything at us," Jake observed. "This is their last stand." Zixtal nodded grimly. "If we lose here, both our species fall." The joint fleet moved to intercept the Crethan armada. In the midst of the chaos, Zixtal's ship took heavy damage. A direct hit to the bridge sent debris flying. A metal beam struck Zixtal, pinning him to the deck. Purple blood pooled beneath him. "Commander!" Jake rushed to his side. The beam had crushed Zixtal's lower body. By Vexian standards, these were fatal wounds. "Leave me," Zixtal gasped. "Save the ship." Jake ignored him and called for medical support. "Lisa, get up here now. We have a critical injury." Combat medic Lisa Grant arrived within minutes, carrying her advanced human medical kit. She took one look at Zixtal and shook her head. "This is bad, really bad." "Can you save him?" Jake demanded. Lisa hesitated. "In a human, maybe, but Vexian physiology." "Try," Jake ordered. "Use whatever you need to." Lisa made a quick decision. She pulled out a vial of experimental human blood derivatives. This might kill him or it might save him. Vexian doctors would never approve. Do it, Zixtal whispered. I trust human medicine. Lisa injected the compound directly into Zixtal's bloodstream. Then she began emergency surgery right there on the bridge using techniques that horrified the Vexian crew. She worked without proper sterilization, cut without careful measurement, and used human antibiotics on alien biology. This is madness, a Vexian officer protested. This is human battlefield medicine, Lisa replied without looking up. Sometimes crazy works. The ship shook from another impact. Jake took command, coordinating the defense while Lisa operated. He issued orders to both human and Vexian crews, his natural leadership emerging in crisis. Focus fire on their command ship, Jake directed. Dan, take your squadron and flank them. As the battle raged outside, Lisa fought her own battle inside. She used human blood plasma to replace Zixtal's lost fluids, applied synthetic skin grafts, designed for humans, and pumped him full of human healing factors. His body is responding, she announced with surprise. The human compounds are working. Zixtal's vital signs stabilized. His body began to accept the human treatments, healing at a rate impossible for his species. The combination of alien biology and human medicine created something new. I can feel it, Zixtal murmured. The pain is fading. I feel stronger. Outside, the tide of battle turned. Human ships crewed by pilots who could endure impossible maneuvers broke through enemy lines. Vexian vessels, inspired by human courage, fought with renewed determination. Jake continued to command both fleets, his tactical skills impressing even veteran Vexian officers. When he saw an opening, he didn't hesitate. All ships concentrate fire on these coordinates. Jake transmitted the weak point in the Crethan formation. The combined firepower of human and Vexian ships tore through the enemy fleet. The Crethan command ship exploded in a brilliant flash. As the enemy retreated, Lisa completed her work on Zixtal. The commander slowly stood, testing his legs. He moved carefully, but without the expected pain. Impossible, Dr. Krelak said, scanning his commander. These wounds should have taken months to reach this stage of healing. Lisa smiled tiredly. Human medicine doesn't always follow the rules. Sometimes we make our own. Zixtal looked at Jake with deep respect. Your people's healing goes beyond biology. You heal spirits, forge alliances, and make the impossible possible. Jake clasped the commander's arm. We learned that survival isn't just about individual strength. It's about helping others survive too. The battle was won, but more importantly, a new understanding had been forged between their species. 6 months after the final battle, the Grand Alliance ceremony took place on the neutral space station Harmony Prime. Representatives from dozens of species gathered to witness the formal treaty between humans and Vexians. Zixtal stood proudly in his ceremonial armor, the scars from his near-fatal wounds barely visible. Jake Miller, now promoted to lieutenant colonel, walked beside him. Their friendship had become legendary among both species, the story of enemies who became brothers through blood and battle. Nervous? Jake asked as they approached the ceremony hall. Zixtal flexed his healed legs. No, thanks to human medicine, I feel stronger than ever. The hall fell silent as they entered. On one side stood the human delegation, led by Admiral Amy Carter. On the other, the Vexian High Command waited. Between them, a holographic display showed images from their conflict. The first battle where Jake was captured, the Crethan attacks, and finally, their victory together. Dr. Krelax stepped forward to present his research findings. Honored delegates, what began as a study of human prisoners has revolutionized our understanding of biology and medicine. He activated a presentation showing comparative healing rates. Humans heal at rates we thought impossible. Their blood contains factors that accelerate cell repair. Their bones mend stronger after breaking. Their immune systems adapt to new threats within hours. The doctor paused, looking at Jake. But most importantly, we learned that human resilience isn't just physical. It's psychological, cultural, and spiritual. They survive because they believe they can. Admiral Carter spoke next. We've learned from the Vexians, too. Their discipline, their technology, their different perspective on the galaxy. Together, we're stronger than either species alone. Zixtal took the podium. His voice carried across the hall as he shared his famous observation. We thought humans weak because they could be hurt so easily. We never imagined they could heal just as quickly. In my arrogance, I saw their ability to feel pain as a weakness. Now I understand it's their greatest strength. He gestured to his healed body. Human medicine saved my life. Human courage saved my ship. Human friendship saved my soul. Today, I stand here not as a conqueror, but as an ambassador for peace. Jake joined him at the podium. When we first met, I was your prisoner. You were my enemy. But when the Crethans attacked, we discovered something more important than our differences, our shared values. Both our species believe in protecting the innocent, in standing against tyranny, in fighting for what's right. The treaty signing began. As Zixtal and Jake placed their signatures on the document, applause erupted from both delegations. The war was officially over, replaced by an alliance that would reshape the galaxy. In the months that followed, exchange programs began. Vexian doctors studied human medicine, learning techniques that seemed impossible by their standards. Human engineers learned Vexian technology, adapting it with human creativity. Dr. Krelax and Lisa Grant established the first joint medical research facility. They developed treatments combining human healing factors with Vexian precision, creating medical breakthroughs that benefited all species. Military academies started accepting students from both species. Young Vexian warriors learned human adaptability and resilience. Human cadets studied Vexian discipline and strategy. 1 year later, Jake visited Zixtal on the Vexian homeworld. They stood on a balcony overlooking the capital city, where humans and Vexians now worked side by side. Did you ever imagine this? Jake asked. When you first shot me with that plasma rifle? Zixtal laughed, a sound he'd learned from humans. I thought I was eliminating a threat. Instead, I found a brother. He touched his chest where the scars had faded. Your people taught us that strength isn't about avoiding injury. It's about coming back stronger. Jake nodded. And you taught us that there's honor in understanding our enemies before fighting them. As the twin suns set over the alien city, human and Vexian stood together, living proof that the greatest healing comes not from medicine, but from friendship, understanding, and the courage to see beyond differences. The age of conflict had ended. The age of alliance had begun.